They say love can blind you, but some people make sure you never see clearly again. Before we begin, remember this. The tricks you are about to hear belong to the group of emotional manipulation. They are not meant to teach you how to use them, but to help you see them more clearly so they cannot control you. You're listening to Soul Lull, where we quiet the noise of the day and awaken the mind of the night. Tonight, let's start with one of the most dangerous: gaslighting. Have you ever felt certain about something, only to be told again and again that it never happened? Imagine you clearly remember the words someone said, the way they looked at you, the feeling in your chest. Yet every time you bring it up, they smile softly and whisper, "You're imagining things. That never happened." Think of Anna, sitting in her quiet kitchen. She remembers her partner shouting at her the night before. But when she mentions it, he shakes his head gently. He says he was calm. He tells her she always exaggerates. Day after day, Anna begins to wonder if her memory is broken, if maybe she is losing her mind. Slowly, she starts to trust him more than she trusts herself. She gives up her truth and takes his instead. The same trick appears in the workplace. Imagine an employee who is told by her manager that a task must be done a certain way. She follows the instruction exactly. Later, when the outcome is criticized, the manager insists, "I never told you to do it like that. You must have misunderstood." The worker feels confused, even ashamed. Over time, she starts doubting her own competence, even though she was never wrong. This is gaslighting, a tactic that makes you doubt your own reality. It works by twisting facts, denying words, or rewriting memories. The goal is simple. If you can no longer trust yourself, you must depend on the manipulator to tell you what is real. Over time, this dependence grows. Your confidence fades. Your identity weakens, and you become easier to control. If you ever feel lost in constant confusion, if your memories are always questioned, pause and breathe. You may not be broken. You may be under the spell of gaslighting. Awareness is the first crack in the illusion. And once you see the trick, it cannot control you again. The next shadow of emotional manipulation is softer, sweeter, and more dangerous than it first appears. Not every kind word is kindness. Some are calculated. It is called love bombing. Have you ever met someone who made you feel like the center of the universe? From the very first moment, they poured affection over you like an endless fountain. Their words were filled with praise. Their eyes never left you. Their attention was constant, almost overwhelming. Sarah met Daniel one spring morning. Within days, he was sending her flowers, leaving long messages, and saying he had never felt so connected to anyone. At first, Sarah was swept away. It felt magical, like a dream she didn't want to wake from. But soon, the tone shifted. The gifts stopped. The messages grew shorter. And when Sarah didn't match his intensity, Daniel accused her of not caring enough. What began as passion turned into pressure. What began as warmth turned into control. The same pattern shows up in friendships. Imagine a new friend who showers you with compliments, includes you in every plan, and constantly tells you how special you are. You feel chosen, almost irreplaceable. But as soon as you cannot keep up with their level of attention, the sweetness turns sour. They withdraw suddenly, leaving you anxious, wondering what you did wrong. You find yourself chasing the version of them that seemed so perfect in the beginning. This is love bombing, a manipulation where someone floods you with affection and admiration until your defenses melt away. You begin to trust quickly, attach deeply, and believe you've found something rare. But the sudden flood is not meant to last. Once you are hooked, the affection is pulled back, leaving you desperate to earn it again. And that desperation becomes the chain that holds you. True love grows slowly, like roots deepening into the earth. Manipulation burns hot and fast, like a fire that dazzles, then leaves only ashes. If someone gives too much, too soon, pause and ask yourself if the light is real or if it was only meant to blind you. From overwhelming affection, we move to something quieter, a trick that presses on the heart more than the mind. This one is called guilt tripping. Have you ever felt a heavy weight when someone says, "After all I've done for you, this is how you treat me"? In that moment, you stop thinking about what is fair and start drowning in guilt. Your chest feels heavy. Your mind races. And suddenly, the choice is no longer about what you want, but about how to escape the guilt pressing down on you. Mark often asked his mother for advice. But whenever he disagreed with her, she sighed and reminded him of all the sacrifices she had made. "I gave you everything, and now you ignore me." Mark knew he had the right to his own choices. Yet each word pulled at him like invisible chains. He began to do things not because he wanted to, but because the guilt was too much to bear. The same happens at work. Imagine an employee who is asked to stay late again and again. When he hesitates, his boss says, "Don't forget how much I've supported you. You owe me this." The request sounds like a reminder of kindness, but it is really a demand dressed in guilt. The worker feels trapped, unable to say no without seeming selfish or ungrateful. This is guilt tripping, a manipulation where someone twists your sense of responsibility to make you act against your will. Instead of asking directly, they make you feel selfish, ungrateful, or cruel if you don't give in. Guilt becomes the leash, and the more you fear disappointing them, the tighter that leash grows. Over time, guilt becomes so familiar that you stop noticing it. You act not from freedom, but from pressure. But guilt is not the same as love. Real care does not demand payment. true relationships do not keep score. If someone always makes you feel wrong for choosing yourself, pause and breathe. Remember, you are allowed to set boundaries. You are allowed to carry your own life without carrying another person's burden. When you see the trick, the chain of guilt begins to loosen. After guilt has done its work, there is another tactic that waits quietly in the shadows. It is used when you try to leave, when you try to step away. This one is called hoovering, named after the vacuum cleaner, because it is meant to pull you back in. Imagine finally finding the strength to walk away from someone who has hurt you. Days pass. Weeks pass. You start to breathe again, to feel your own space. And then, your phone lights up. A message arrives. I miss you. I can't live without you. Please, just one more chance. Your chest tightens. The cycle begins again. Rachel left a controlling partner. For the first time in years, she felt free. But only days later, flowers appeared at her door. Long letters arrived, filled with promises to change, filled with memories of their happiest days. At first, Rachel stayed strong, but the constant pull, the reminders, the apologies, the sudden sweetness wore her down. Within weeks, she found herself back where she started, caught in the same storm she had fought so hard to escape. The same trick works in friendships. A toxic friend may disappear for months, only to return when they need something. They arrive with charm, with apologies, with laughter, long enough to draw you back in. And once you are near, the old patterns begin again. This is hoovering, a manipulation where the abuser dangles affection, regret, or promises as bait to reel you back into their control. It plays on memory, on hope, on your desire to believe that people can change. Sometimes the pull is gentle. Sometimes it is dramatic, even desperate. But the goal is always the same: to stop you from moving on and to keep you in the cycle. Real change does not come from desperate words or sudden gifts. It comes from consistent actions over time. If you ever feel pulled back into a place you already escaped, pause and ask yourself if the pull is real love or just the sound of a vacuum drawing you back into the past. Awareness gives you the power to keep walking forward into peace. From loud words and overflowing affection, we move now to silence. A silence heavy enough to hurt. This is called the silent treatment. Have you ever spoken your truth, only to be met with nothing? No reply, no glance, not even a breath of acknowledgement. At first, the silence feels confusing. Soon, it feels like punishment. Emma argued with her partner about a simple matter. Instead of replying, he shut down completely. Hours passed, then days, with no words, no eye contact, not even the sound of his voice. The silence was so heavy it filled the room. Emma found herself apologizing for things she hadn't done, just to break the emptiness. The silence had forced her to surrender. The same tactic plays out in families. A child makes a mistake, and instead of gentle correction, The parent withdraws all attention. No greeting in the morning, no good night at the end of the day. The child feels invisible, desperate to be seen again. In that desperation, they learn to obey quickly, not out of love, but out of fear of being ignored. This is the silent treatment, a manipulation where someone withholds communication, affection, or recognition to punish and control. The silence is not peace. It is pressure. It forces the other person to chase, to beg, to shrink themselves just to restore connection. Over time, silence becomes more painful than anger because it erases your existence while leaving you physically present. True silence brings rest and reflection. But the silent treatment brings only fear and submission. If someone uses silence to make you doubt your worth, pause and remember, your voice matters, even if they refuse to hear it. You are not defined by the sound of another's silence. After silence comes another trick, one that is not empty, but unpredictable. It is called intermittent reinforcement, also known as the hot and cold treatment. Imagine never knowing which version of someone you will meet. One day they shower you with warmth. Next, they turn away coldly, as if you do not exist. The uncertainty keeps you waiting, hoping, and desperate for their good side to return. Lena's boyfriend sometimes treated her like a queen. He sent her sweet messages, brought her small gifts, and told her she was the love of his life. But other days, without reason, he ignored her calls, criticized her, or pulled away completely. Each time he returned to being loving, Lena felt relief, even gratitude. Slowly, she began to cling more tightly, hoping for the good days to last. She didn't see that the cycle itself was the trap. The same happens at work. A manager praises an employee in front of the whole team, giving them recognition and hope. The next week, for no clear reason, the same manager humiliates them in a meeting. The unpredictability keeps the worker anxious, always striving to please, never secure. They stay, not because they are happy, but because they keep waiting for the next reward. This is intermittent reinforcement, a manipulation built on inconsistency. By mixing kindness with cruelty, reward with punishment, the manipulator creates a powerful hook. The human mind craves patterns. When affection or approval comes at random, we chase it harder. Psychologists have found that unpredictable rewards are stronger than consistent ones. It is the same principle that keeps people playing slot machines. The hope that the next spin, or the next day, will bring the reward back. Real love and real respect do not play games. They are steady, like a calm river that flows without interruption. If someone gives you warmth one moment and freezes you the next, remember, you deserve more than the gamble of uncertain affection. Peace does not come from guessing. It comes from trust. Some tricks do not shout, and they do not stay silent. Instead, they cry. They bend your heart by showing weakness. This one is called playing victim. Have you ever noticed someone who always seems to suffer more than anyone else? No matter the situation, somehow, They are the injured one, the misunderstood one, the unfairly treated one. And before you know it, you find yourself rushing to comfort them, even when they were the cause of the pain. Tom was caught lying to his girlfriend. Instead of apologizing, he told her she was too harsh, that no one had ever trusted him, and that he was broken inside. His eyes filled with tears. Suddenly, she forgot her own hurt and began consoling him. The focus shifted. He was no longer the one who betrayed. He was the one who needed saving. At work, a colleague misses deadlines again and again. When confronted, he doesn't take responsibility. Instead, he talks about how stressed he is, how no one supports him, how life has treated him unfairly. Soon, the team softens, offering help instead of holding him accountable. The project suffers, but the victim mask protects him from blame. This is playing victim, a manipulation where someone avoids responsibility by turning themselves into the injured party. Instead of admitting fault, they shift the attention, making others feel guilty or cruel for expecting accountability. It is powerful because compassion is natural. Most people want to ease another's pain. But when compassion is twisted, it becomes control. True vulnerability invites connection. But false victimhood creates chains. If someone always suffers more than you, if their pain always outweighs your truth, pause and ask, is this real, or is it a performance to escape responsibility? Remember, you are not required to carry another's mask as your burden. From masks of victimhood, we step into a darker shadow, one that trades love for fear. This is emotional blackmail. Have you ever been told, if you leave me, I'll hurt myself? Or, if you don't do this, I'll make you regret it? In those words, choice disappears. What you want no longer matters. Fear takes its place. Julia wanted space from her boyfriend after months of constant fighting. When she said she needed a break, he didn't plead or argue. Instead, he whispered, "If you go, I don't know if I'll survive." Julia froze. Her heart ached with guilt. She stayed, not because she wanted to, but because the weight of responsibility for his life pressed onto her shoulders. Love had turned into a hostage situation. At work, an employee was asked to take on extra hours. She hesitated. Her manager leaned closer and said, "If you won't help, maybe I should let the higher-ups know you're not a team player." It wasn't a request. It was a threat disguised as a choice. Fear of losing her job forced her to obey. This is emotional blackmail, a manipulation where someone uses threats, direct or hidden, to control another person. The threat may be self-harm, anger, humiliation, or loss. Whatever form it takes, the message is the same. Do what I want, or you will suffer. It is powerful because it traps you between guilt and fear, making freedom feel impossible. True love does not hold you hostage. Real respect does not use fear as currency. If someone ties your choices to threats, remember, that is not care, It is control. And the moment you see it for what it is, the chains begin to weaken. You are not responsible for carrying the weight of another's threats. Some tricks use silence. Others use guilt or fear. But this one uses a third person as a weapon. It is called triangulation. Have you ever been compared to someone else in a way that made you feel smaller? Or found yourself drawn into an argument where a third person was pulled in, even if they weren't part of the conflict? That is how triangulation begins. Sophia argued with her partner about trust. Instead of addressing her directly, he said, "You should be more like Emily. She never complains. She always trusts me." The words cut deep. Sophia no longer focused on the real issue. Instead, she was trapped in a silent competition against someone who wasn't even in the room. Her partner had turned comparison into control. The same game plays out at work. A manager has 2 employees. Instead of encouraging teamwork, he praises one while criticizing the other. "Why can't you handle projects the way Sarah does?" he says, planting seeds of rivalry. The 2 employees stop cooperating and begin competing for approval. The manager keeps his power by setting them against each other. This is triangulation, a manipulation where someone uses a third person, real or imagined, to create jealousy, insecurity, or competition. It shifts focus away from the real problem and forces people to prove themselves. It is effective because humans naturally want to belong and to be valued. By threatening that sense of value, the manipulator tightens their grip. Healthy love and respect do not compare or divide. They do not need third parties to prove worth. If you feel trapped in a silent race against someone else, pause and ask, "Who placed me here, and why?" Awareness breaks the triangle, and once the triangle is broken, control begins to fade. Some manipulations do not attack directly. Instead, they hide inside words that sound like compliments but sting like insults. This is called negging. Have you ever received a compliment that made you feel smaller instead of stronger? Words that seemed kind at first, but left a shadow of doubt in your mind? That is the essence of negging. During a date, Clara smiled when her partner said, "You're pretty smart for a woman." The words sounded like praise, but carried a hidden blade. Instead of feeling valued, Clara felt reduced, as if her intelligence was an exception, not her truth. The comment lingered in her mind, long after the evening was over. In the office, James worked hard on a project. When he presented it, his colleague chuckled and said, "Wow, I didn't think you had it in you." The room laughed. It sounded playful, but the message was clear. James's work was surprising only because they believed he was usually incapable. Instead of feeling proud, James felt exposed. The backhanded compliment chipped at his confidence. This is negging, a manipulation where insults are disguised as praise. The aim is to lower self-esteem while appearing harmless, even charming. Over time, repeated negging makes a person seek the manipulator's approval more and more, desperate to earn a genuine compliment. It is powerful because it confuses the mind. Was it kindness or was it cruelty? The doubt itself becomes control. True compliments lift you. False ones push you down while pretending to raise you up. If words leave you uneasy, if praise feels more like poison than water, pause and remember, your worth does not depend on backhanded approval. Real respect never needs to hide behind a smile. Some tricks do not live in the present. Instead, they build castles in the future, castles made of promises. This is called future faking. Have you ever been promised a beautiful tomorrow that never arrived? Words of marriage, dreams of travel, visions of a shared future, spoken with passion, but never followed by action? That is the heart of future faking. Maya's partner spoke often about the life they would build together. We'll get married next year, buy a house by the sea, raise children in peace. Each time Maya felt doubt about his coldness in the present, those promises pulled her back in. She stayed for the dream, even though the reality never matched. Years later, the house by the sea still lived only in words. At work, an employee was promised promotion after promotion. Stay loyal, work harder, and next year you'll lead the team, her boss said. She gave her energy, her weekends, her peace of mind, always waiting for the future reward. But the promotion never came. Each year brought new promises, and each year the future remained just out of reach. This is future faking, a manipulation where someone creates hope by painting vivid pictures of a shared tomorrow. The dream becomes a leash, pulling you forward, keeping you patient, keeping you invested. The manipulator does not need to act. The promise itself is enough to hold control. It works because hope is powerful. We want to believe in better days. But when hope is false, it becomes a cage instead of a path. True plans grow roots in action. Empty promises vanish like smoke. If someone always speaks of tomorrow while giving little today, pause and ask, is this a dream we are building together, or only a story designed to keep me still? Real love does not live only in the future. It shows itself now. And now we reach the last trick in this family of emotional manipulation. It is subtle, almost gentle, but no less powerful. It is called breadcrumbing. Have you ever waited for a message that never came, only to receive a small reply days later? Just enough to keep your hope alive, but never enough to truly feed it? That is the taste of breadcrumbing. Oliver dated someone who never fully committed. Days of silence passed, followed by a single text, "I miss you." Just when Oliver thought it was over, another tiny gesture arrived. A late-night call, a half-hearted plan for the weekend. It was never enough to build a real relationship, but always enough to keep him waiting, hungry for more. In the workplace, an employee hoped for a raise. His boss never gave a clear answer, but from time to time, dropped small hints. "You're doing great. Keep this up, and good things will happen." Those words were like crumbs on a long path. The raise never came, but the tiny pieces of praise kept the worker loyal, chasing a reward that was never real. This is breadcrumbing, a manipulation where someone gives just enough attention, affection, or reward to keep another person hooked, but never enough to satisfy them. The crumbs create hope, and hope creates patience. It is powerful because the mind fills the gaps, imagining a feast when in truth there are only fragments. The manipulator does not give, they only dangle. Real love, real respect, and real opportunity do not come in crumbs. They come in full presence, steady and whole. If you find yourself surviving only on scraps of attention, pause and ask, is this a meal, or am I being starved on purpose? You deserve more than crumbs. You deserve the table itself. These are the shadows of emotional manipulation. They are not truth, but illusions. Once you see them, they lose their power. Tonight, you have walked among them and recognized their shapes. Let the awareness rest quietly in your mind. You do not need to fight tonight. You only need to breathe, to let go, and to drift into sleep. Tomorrow, you will carry this clarity with you, softly but surely. For now, rest. You are safe in your own truth.